today?
Yeah, it's really quiet.
Good, good. Okay, so Yurii, just as a reminder, my company Heart Zones, which is what you're seeing in the background, has been doing business for since September of 2020, before the invasion started, with Euritiq. And Yurii will continue the software developer that actually, project manager is not the right term. You have the right, what's the right term, Yurii?
It's kind of project manager, so it's the mostly which is describing what I'm doing.
Okay, he's the person we talk to all the time. Ivan, yeah. We don't see very often. And so we committed to working with Euritiq before the war, and after the war started, it touched my heart deeply, and I and my partner, the princess, who'll be here in a minute, went into sewing flags, trying to raise money. We've raised $30,000. We've sent $25,000. And Susan Kane, you're here. You know more about the money. So Susan Kane's in kind of in Chicago and Florida, and is kind of really helped. Susan, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, she never came around working, but
I just got a workout, and you don't want to see what I look like.
Okay, well, as long as you worked out, that's what's important. Yeah. So, Susan, can you just quickly share about Nova Ukraine?
Sure. Nova Ukraine is a US-based 501c3 organization. They were founded, I'm thinking 5 to 7 years ago, by a group of originally Ukrainian citizens who were working primarily in tech in the San Francisco area. And originally their purpose was to raise awareness of Ukraine and just, relations and such. And then when the war started, they certainly kind of stepped up the game to help raise money to send to Ukraine to help the people in Ukraine. And again, to raise more awareness of just, kind of Ukraine in the US. So with the initial $25,000 that was raised, it was designated to use for medical supplies that would benefit the citizens of Ukraine. Very much a grassroots effort, money raised by grassroots US to help the citizens of Ukraine. So that's where we sent the initial money, and we're in the process of evaluating right now whether the next chunk of money gets sent to Nova Ukraine once again, or if there's someplace else that can help us better spread the word about Ukraine flags. So is that what you're looking for, Sal?
That was perfect. So thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. I have put in the chat box, which is on your lower right hand of your screen, the first of, I have 5 questions for Yurii and Ivan. And if you don't know the answers, you can always say it's outside my scope and practice. It's okay. We'll go on to the next one. So I'll read it quickly. Ivan and Yurii, I think I sent them to you ahead of time. The question is, the Russian invasion of Ukraine has severely affected your country's culture in different ways. How? Either one of you can answer that, please.
Yeah, I can start. Yeah, I think we can both add. If Yurii has something to add, please go ahead. So I mentioned, so hi everyone, good to see you again, and thanks for your questions, and thanks for your time, and thanks for your support as well. Yes, I'll send me the list of questions. So regarding the culture, I mentioned to you about this before, that this war triggered a lot of changes in our culture life, and in a way triggered actually increased the number of people, artists, to look inside the history, to trying to find like Ukrainian specific music motifs, like different kind of everything related to the cultural aspects. The reason behind that, there are a big amount of people that these events actually made them realize that Russia is not friend. So war with Russia started in 2014. As you know, there was the annexed Crimea, and they took parts of the eastern Ukraine, the Donbas area. But that was the moment when we had this corrupted president. He actually had like half of the country voted for him. So he was elected legally, but he was like corrupted. He was pro-Russian, and active people, they throw him down through the Maidan revolution. So there was still big amount of people. They were not active. They were not actively supporting him. They were not actively defending him, but they felt like, yeah, we elected the guy and then he ran away, and we feel like maybe it's not right. So they were like passive supporters of this president, or some of them were just indifferent. They were not caring about this politics. So there's always big amount of population that don't vote and so on. So those people, when these events happened with in 2014, that Russia stepped in and annexed some territories, they wouldn't recognize this as direct, unprovoked action by Russia. They kind of felt like, yeah, maybe Ukraine is done something bad with this revolution. So they were kind of under influence of Russian propaganda. So Russia invested in making people believe that what they did was like a chain reaction. But actually they just made, they just invested this money to make this picture, but it was not a consensus. So their idea was that they would keep this Yanukovych guy, and they would make Ukraine like you see Belarus right now. So that's what they had the plan to do, right? So if we would not throw him down, we would be, like slowly destroying the free media, free speech, all the opposition, and we will be pretty much like Belarus, where we have one president for like 30 years. We did not let it happen, and Russia acted, right? So they acted because they understood that it's a threat to their control over Ukraine, because with that president, they were actually controlling a lot of things that happen in the country. So I mean, that 2014, it wasn't black and white for 100% of Ukrainian population. So probably like half of the country, they understood that, hey, Russia is actually very, very bad country. So, but many of those people, they already knew that because they were studying history in school, and they remember what happened like 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Some people, they didn't study history well at school, and for them it was easier to manipulate that, hey, Russia is still a friendly country, so maybe there is something we just don't understand, so we're not going to blame Russia. It was in 2014. And now when Russia acted and started bombing every city in the country, 90% of people understood that. So I mean, now it's a real majority. So now everyone finally accepted. And what's more important, that's mainly people from this Eastern Russian-speaking regions. So they were more reluctant to this acceptance before. Now they finally understand that rockets are flying from the eastern side, and there is no way Ukraine can do that to their homes. So this kind of cultural shift, it started in 2014 with more like Ukrainian national motifs, and there are like lots of artists exploring the historical heritage. But now there is like even more people that support that. There are more people that there are lots of artists switching from Russian language to Ukrainian. Not just artists, I would say anyone public. They would have their social media in Russian before, because they're a bigger audience. You can target Russia, you can target Belarus. So there are like 200 million Russian-speaking people or so, or maybe even more. And there is only like 40 million Ukrainian-speaking. So of course, if you can do this in Russia, it would be more beneficial if you're like a media person. But now a lot of these people they switching to Ukrainian, and yeah, that's pisses off Russia a lot, because they understand that they had this control over Ukrainian narratives through the Russian-speaking artists that always consciously or unconsciously lean towards, you know, Russia as a big as a friend, as a brother, and in this case they're kind of losing the connection. And now we are trying to shut down the Russian church, which is painful for some people. Russian church was the biggest church in Ukraine till like 2016, when we kind of, there was some legal term that our church Ukrainian church separated from this Byzantium towards, I don't know, I don't remember the term, but we get kind of independent Ukrainian church, and Russian church started slowly shifting to Ukrainian, but maybe like 10% of them. The majority was still reporting to Moscow. And now when the war started, there were lots of FSB agents there. There are lots of priests with Russian passports that Ukrainian special forces like figure out a lot of this dirt, and they're just madness. They were like hiding weapons arsenal in case, you know, Russian. So they were like very, very active pro-Russian power within the country. And you know, that's it was a problem for many years, and it was sensitive for any president to touch this topic. And but I'm happy that Zelensky is doing that, because this have to be solved once and for a while. That it should not be like that. That you know, these priests, they have you know, like secret army of Russian leaning Russian supporters. So that's also part of this cultural revolution, because you know, church is important for many people, and they are not, you know, it's not like Ukraine is shutting them down. They are offered that you as a priest, you control, let's say, some area, a village or area of the town, you can just kind of sign up to Ukrainian church and start reporting to Kiev head. I don't know how it's called in this religious world, but some of them say no. We report to Moscow. We cannot leave. They report to Moscow. They send a percentage of their money to Moscow. So that's the problem. So it's not like. And basically, there is a very, very small difference between still Orthodox church. There are very small difference between Ukrainian Orthodox and Russian Orthodox in terms of all the procedures, tradition, you know, how people get married, how people get funerals. So it's not that different. It's just the rule is in Kiev or in Moscow. So there are many churches that shifting to Ukraine, and there is no scandal. So the people, the population, they just come to the priest and say, hey, we want to shift to Ukrainian. So you either go with us or we just kick you out of this church, and we will have a new priest. So in many cases they do switch, but there is this kind of top leaders. They're probably active FSB agents, so they would never switch. But on the lower level, many Russian church priests, they're very open to switching. So they are singing on their Sunday mass. They're singing like "Viva Putin" and all that crap. So you can imagine in this time. They're doing like all over the country in Ukrainian territory.
Ivan?
Yeah, so that's also a massive cultural shift, because for many people, they get influence. They get a lot of influence from church, and this is also changing. And why I'm so excited, because it's inevitable changes. Yeah.
Michael has a quick question here, or a question.
Yeah, and actually, maybe first Yurii could give a little perspective on this cultural shift of understanding that Ukraine is Ukraine and Russia is foreign. I'm wondering if in your personal relationships with friends, acquaintances, family, whether that has conversation has shifted at all? Like, do you see more eye to eye with people you know personally? Or is it just a broader thing that's across the country?
Yeah, so it's hard to hard to show it on the example of Western Ukraine, as here mostly people were talking Ukrainian from the many years, and but yeah, for the people who live on Eastern Ukraine, it's more visible that something is changing there, and they're more starting to be more related to Ukrainian culture, where the issue was on the beginning that it was kind of neutral. Some of them were pro-Russian, some of them were like kind of Ukrainian. Those people was mostly like, okay, we live in some area, we don't care, and it built it changed it in the way they say, okay, yeah, we're Ukrainians now, and we're shifting, we're ready to accept it, because we see the suffering, we see the people from different regions is just from Eastern regions, they're just running from their homes, and it's like it's visible and it's changing people's minds. So yeah, it changed. Here we don't see it as they do, because they're hosting a lot of people just on the. It's easier to move like 100 kilometers than to move 1,000 kilometers. So a lot of people from the city which was destroyed, bombed, continuously bombed. They're trying to move a bit closer still to their homes with the hope that they will be able to return soon. So, and this kind of influence a lot to minds of those peoples and to hearts of those peoples. So yeah, this is visible. And from here, from what I want to add to Ivan, yeah, it's really visible that, for example, on the YouTube, a lot of YouTubers previously were speaking Russia because audience is a lot bigger, and now they're switching to Ukrainian with understanding that the audience would be like 10 times less, but still it's there. Now it's the way that they need to do it properly. So yeah, it's nice, because sometimes was googling some like recipes or something like that, and all of those was in Russian, and now I'm happy to see the new stuff coming up to YouTube in Ukrainian, and it's nice.
Okay, let's move on to the next question.
Yes.
We'll move off of culture. And the question is in the text box on the bottom right corner of your screen. This is about a personal question, kind of from my heart to your heart. You know, how are you doing? You know, financially, your country has to be in, I don't know, financially, your person. This is a personal question. Okay. How's it going? Ivan, you want to start? And Yurii, you want to?
Yeah, I can start. So yeah, thanks for the question. I think for me the biggest impact is not financial, because we saved business, we continue working, we actually grew last year, and we continue operating. We did not lose any of our clients because of the war. We mainly work for businesses in Europe and North America, and they continue working with us. The biggest risk was they get scared of our situation and maybe try searching a different company, but we were able to keep them. We were able to keep our clients and to make sure we are responsive. We had internet in our basements, in our shelters, so they're not when they're texting, we are responding right away, and pretty much doing a lot of business continuity stuff to make sure clients, even if there are some interruptions, clients should not be able to see that and should not be able to. So basically, from the financial perspective, it didn't affect us a lot. I mean, us, myself, my company, people. We are donating a lot of money. So me as a business owner, we donate all our profits for last year, for this year. So I would say it's measured in the low hundreds of thousands of dollars. And, you know, I could have bought a house for that money, but I don't care. I don't want to have a house in an occupied country. So I'd rather have a small apartment, but I have a free country. So it's you know, I'm trying to do as much as I can from what I can do. So it's not the biggest loss for me. The biggest loss is basically all this mental situation, and you have a lot of restrictions. You lose a lot of freedom when events like that happen. You cannot freely move. You cannot freely cross the border. There are certain hours you cannot be outside. First, it was like 10 p.m. Now I guess it's a midnight or 1 a.m. You cannot be out until the 6, or now it's probably like 5 a.m. So they're making so you cannot. There are a lot of conscriptions, so you constantly worry that you can be handed one, and you know, basically you get a note, and next day you have to show up in a military base. So it's not like you have a lot of time to handle something after that. So there is constant pressure that you know, you're living your life, but tomorrow might change completely. And this you know, unknown is sometimes more stressful than actually the situation when it happens itself, right? Because you're constantly processing a lot of options when you plan your week, your months, or you know, your trip somewhere. And by nature, I am very like freedom-loving person, and for me, that's the biggest, I would say, challenge or constraint. I know it's not the biggest loss comparing to what other people are suffering, but that just, you know, gives you a lot of discomfort in your day-to-day life, especially when it's second year now and it doesn't look like it's gonna end anytime soon. Yeah,
good.
so that's my perspective. Luckily, I did not lose. You know, I lost a couple of people I knew, and that's, you know, that's painful. I did not lose anyone from my like family members or someone you know, like really close. I still have people, my good friends that are in the army, and they are doing good so far. Also, it's like maybe another aspect to add. When events like that happen, a lot of institutions, they are not ready to all the edge cases. You know, in any constitution, in any law, you have the rules. You know what to do in case of war, how governments work in terms of war. You know how the military works, but all these things, they never too detailed, because legislation people, they don't plan it to happen tomorrow. You know, and there are lots of holes in the legislation. There are lots of stories where some soldier, you know, lost his legs, but they don't let him go home. He has to heal in a army hospital because there is some collision in the legal document that during the wartime you cannot be released from the army, and no one specified that if you lose or your legs, maybe you can be released from the army. But no, there is no such a line in illegal in law, right? And there are lots of stuff like stupid things like that no one was prepared for these kind of edge cases, and it only you know, it increases the pressure on all this kind of freedom that I mentioned. And of course, you understand that this is not the biggest priority to handle edge cases when you're in the middle of the war, right? They try to resolve the situations that are massive and then influence many people, but they're not dealing with this kind of edge cases. And that's also kind of stressful that you have these things. Yurii, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I see from my side, exactly as Ivan told, but people got a bit more modest in their spendings, especially a lot of people who love to travel, they cannot do it at the moment. So yeah, but still there is new line in the in the spendings of everyone from Ukraine. It's donations, and still if people are don't have such confidence in the future and confidence in to have the stable income, but still they're donating all the time, and even it's sometimes it's so much visible that person is feeling not really good if they haven't donated this or last months, but you understand that the person maybe not sure that in the next month they'll be able to gain the same amount of money as they used to. So, but yeah, people are like really flexible in Ukraine, and then they learn to live new way, new life. I cannot say that it's improved, but still it's something that people are trying to do their best, gain money, donate, and yeah, and believe in future. So
Well, Yurii, you've kind of shared with me that there's a kind of fatigue going on. Can you talk a little bit about that emotional side? And I know emotions are hard to talk about.
yeah, on the emotional side, it's one thing. It's continuous visible. It's like uh, continuous stress. I cannot say depression, but it's always in the air. You cannot basically. It's not possible in this kind of situation to avoid stress because it's everywhere. It's your open news and you read some post about the people died, or there is some your friends get wounded, and it's still you think how to help, and it's surrounding you from all the sides. In calm in the world, you have those events are happening so much seldom, and you're feeling that stress like once in a while, and you're like, okay, it's yeah, life is still goes on, and it's nice, but in this situation, in this world that we have now in Ukraine, it's for all the time from all the sides, and people try to cheer up everybody, the people that they're close to. People try to hold and stand. Yeah, but still, that stress is always there. Uh, it's it's sad to say, but some people are already used to that stress. I I still I don't believe some people are saying that just yeah, I'm fine. Like I used to that. It's my normal life now. It's sad to hear that because it's that stress never goes away and will never. It's not like you're wet and then you're dry. It's like you're being continuously wet, and then it will influence your health for sure, and you never know, it will happen in a few years or it will rapidly cause the issues. So this is mental and physical health. It's something that we need to learn how to improve it in this kind of situation. In our company, we have that kind of activity that we try to improve the emotional health of people that we are working with, just to help people to move and to be active still, and not to close the door, close the windows, and like be in the shell, but still talk, live, and hope that and believe in better future. So but this is present, and this will be a huge challenge for Ukraine and for all the people, not just for those ones who was closer to the front line. It's even hard to evaluate who is on which level, because I cannot imagine what is living near the front line or like 100 kilometers from the front line, because they're living totally different life. we are having airstrike alarms, but usually they don't have it. The missile can hit some building, and then only in a few minutes there will be airstrike alarm. So it's continuous stress, and people, like millions of people, need to learn how to live with that stress and how easily to let that stress go after our victory.
Okay. I'm going to move to the next.
I just want to add, we as a company invest a lot. That's a priority number one for our HR department, this kind of emotional situation for all people. So we do a lot of workshops. We invite different psychiatrists. So like every week or two, we try to unite people in the office, do some activities. Because you can see the productivity might, fall for some people more, for some people less, and that's what Yurii says. Is just constant stress. I just share with you our Facebook account for our company. You can just take a look. There are different kind of activities what we do. So just maybe someone's interested. Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is about the news. I know, Ivan, I believe, Ivan, you read the New York Times, but you also have your local press and other sources. Can you share if you think that the invasion by Russia has been fairly portrayed by the press, or it's slanted, or we're missing something, or... because the United States right now is very divided. And so we end up kind of listening to our own side.
Yeah, I just share with you 2 links. That's Ukrainian newspapers that have English version and that I trust, and I read them myself. I read Ukrainian version. English has, I guess, less articles than Ukrainian. But still, if you're interested what our media... and those are, like trusted sources. So you can just take a look. I used to read a lot of Twitter, and on Twitter I'm kind of subscribed to different people. They're just for the international perspective. But since Elon acquired Twitter, I see my algorithm very strange. I see a lot of internal US news. Like very, very kind of narrow Republicans versus Democrats fighting on something, and I just see those posts, and I just don't know the people. I see that there are some U.S. politicians, but I just have no idea why it started showing in my feed, and I'm not interested in some kind of county debates on some state level. So it's kind of becoming less interesting for me reading Twitter, and I also started getting a lot of Russian narratives. So it looks like, I don't know, they're messing up with algorithms. So it's becoming hard to understand what's the propaganda, what's the truth. And I don't read systematically any Western media. I sometimes check from time to time, like the top, like BBC, Washington Post, New York Times, like CNN, something like that. So I just maybe scroll from time to time to see what you guys are reading, and just to understand your bubble, right? Or what's your main narratives are. And I can say that it's more or less correctly how they show. I mean, those trusted. I'm not talking about Fox News. I'm talking about more like those more like. Media like Washington Post. They have some insights, they have some intel. There recently was this young guy that was leaking the data. It was all around the news. That was interesting to read different information pieces from that intel leaking. I guess you had it all around the news as well. And that was very interesting. I read the report. There is an organization in Ukraine that analyzes Russian media. And when this leaks started to appear, like Russian intel, they were pushing this message everywhere on Russian media to say, hey, you see, now we know all US intel, US are so dumb, they cannot keep the intel. So they were like using those on left and right, how good, you know, we are, we know all the US intel now. But then those intel started showing that actually US knows everything that happens in each Kremlin cabinet. And those kind of FSB, they started to shut down this subject in all Russian media. They kind of went too far, so people get interested. What are those leaks? What are those leaks? And then suddenly there were lots of leaks that US knew about that, US knew about that, and basically they knew about. They had access to any division in the Kremlin, and they just shift, you know, 180 degrees the Russian narrative just to shut down this subject in Russian news completely and not to show anything related to that. So that was funny to read, right? They were first like very happy about that, and then they realized it's not all that bright for them. Even though they had this info, but now they understand they have lots of US presence in their communications. So. Yeah, the last moment about the media representation. So you, in general, you get your media is more or less okay, but you get it in a bit different angle that we have. Our angle and our media kind of tries to show it like they're showing to Ukrainian audience, and your media is showing this to US audience. And the goal of each media is, you know, show the truth and gain some. You know, likes and views. You cannot survive without that. So your audience, you know, likes one set of subjects, our audience another set of subjects. So of course there are differences in narratives, but I would say, yeah, in what they're showing, everything recently about this offensive that's about to happen soon, that Ukraine is getting prepared. And there are someone is in US is saying, hey, maybe this offensive is not going to be that big, and maybe it's not going to be that impressive. And we have these messages here as well, because we understand that we did not get, you know, a lot of different weapons that we wanted. We didn't get new jets, and there are different reasons how we can explain that, but it's obvious that it will be hard to liberate all of that. I think there is another question that you had about the support, so maybe we can return to that later on.
Yurii, how are you getting your news sources? Is similar or different? Because there's
different.
About a 10 or 15 year, I think, age difference. So we're kind of in different generations between Ivan and Yurii.
Oh, I believe we're pretty much the same age.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's weird.
Somebody with the next generation, but go ahead.
You are
Yeah. So I'm getting my news a bit in different way. I don't like Twitter. I'm not using it. So mostly I like to watch some trusted YouTube channels, some bloggers. Because on the news, on the TV, they try to present everything like a newsbreaker. They try to put information like stop and watch. You need to see it, and I like it's too much sometimes. I understand that they need to fill the time with something that can be potentially interested to everyone. So I'm watching kind of a few trusted bloggers, and I will check if they have English subscription, or at least English channel that they are also explaining everything in English. Yeah, but they're just providing the brief information, the most important topics. I believe that they're like on the proper side, they providing information in the proper way. But just you see that there's many people, and they can say this one is not really correct, and such those questions. So, but anyway, I'm trusting the kind of few Ukrainian bloggers and following them. and this is the way I'm getting my information. Yeah, there is some part of news that I read, especially if the news is related to some official source and some laws, for example, or something discussed on the high political levels. They present it in good way, but usually I try to validate everything with trusted bloggers.
Thank you. I'm going to open this up for questions. I had two more. Maybe we can get to them quickly. One is on China. The U.S. and Chinese relations have been worsening, and that has affected Taiwan and Ukraine. And so how do you all perceive?
Yes, sorry, one thing, Fred, have you did you want to ask something? No, that's okay.
Fred gets first up though, okay?
Okay. Yes, for
great.
For China, it's so many thoughts about that one, but still, I don't believe that China is friend to anyone. Not Russia, not Asia. They're just so much into them, and they would like the world to be on the way they would like to be, and that's it. Everyone else is just resource for them, and this the way of gaining power and money. And yeah, in the world of, I don't believe that they as well that they would like to have strong big Russia and beside of them. So just for them, it's kind of win that Russia is currently in the war, and they can buy the resources cheaper and bargain on the way they like. So yeah, I don't believe that Russia is friend to anyone and try to protect anyone, and especially the situation with Taiwan is like it's before the full-scale war. I would say China was more bigger danger to the world than Russia. But now, as we having the war with Russia, and we need to handle that one first. So yeah, this would be other huge thing to deal with, because they try to invite other, I cannot even say other countries, but other business, other industries. And then in the way of controlling those industries, they try to control world. And this is something that still is important to and you don't need to forget about that issue. Yeah, but politically and diplomatically saying, like, I don't believe China is friend to anyone.
That's a good comment. Thank you. And Ivan, are you in the same place or different? Or?
Yeah, I just want to add that China invests a lot of money to a lot of efforts to look like they are grown-ups in this situation. So they kind of try to show like these Western countries, they get involved in this war. So we're gonna kind of stay aside and we would act like grown up. So they try to attract these other countries, you know, like India, Brazil, Africa, South America. So they kind of try to make this appearance like, you know, we are very peaceful. The best solution is just everyone stops. So they don't say that Russia should withdraw. They just say everyone should stop, which is in favor of Russia because they attack, they grab what they have, and now if everything just stops, it means they get what they get. But I don't believe China will act, will do some kind of military aid to Russia or something like that. There are reports that they were considering. I'm sure they will be helping maybe through countries like North Korea or something like that, but I don't believe they will do something directly because they want to maintain this this role as a grown-up in the room, and they want to build their diplomacy around that. And it's not just about this war. It looks like they want to show that West is in general is like too impulsive, and we are like very, very thoughtful. I don't think, it's obvious that they are more aligning with Russia, and they're voting together on all UN resolutions. So it's obvious for everyone who can read that China is completely aligned with Russia. I'm not sure how they actually discuss internally about these affairs. Are China pushing Russia, or are they don't care? And I don't know. I want to share with you this video about I just watched recently about the China and the semiconductor crisis that they have, and the Taiwan. So it's English. It should be interesting for you. It's a short video explaining why US will not give up Taiwan, and why it's like very, very strategic for US about all these chips that Taiwan is doing. So yeah, I don't have much to say about China. They're like commies are commies. It's nothing good gonna come out of that. So I'm very sorry for the Chinese people that suffer all of that hell, but it doesn't look like they can bring anything. Like if they're killing people inside the country with tens of thousands, the same that the Soviet Union was doing, you can never bring anything positive to the world. I mean, I admire Chinese culture, but the current government and the current policies that they have, it's never going to bring anything positive to the world. And I think US should be preparing for the bigger war. And the more you prepare, the biggest chance there will be no war. So I think that's a right way to go.
Okay, thank you. Fred.
So, as my understanding, Ukraine's been influenced by Russia for many, many generations. And culturally and government-wise, people of Ukraine have been able to watch what happens in Russia. Do you think that the fact that there's now a war taking place will increase the interest of the Ukraine people in true democracy, true independence, and a different way of living than under the aegis of Russia?
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening, and it was the case, before, because we are neighboring European countries, and some of them are getting very, very developed, like Poland. Poland is a major European success. They're entering the league of the most developed countries. If you haven't been to, if you can come to Poland, please do that. That just you know about Germany, you know about Scandinavia as a kind of rich and successful countries. But what Poland is, we're close, we're neighbors, we're like 50 kilometers, which is like 40 miles. We're going a lot to Poland. And when you leave to there's Hungary, there is Romania, there is very close to this kind of part, and you see a lot of people from there are living better and better every year. And if you travel to Russia, not much changes that way. So, but there are still a lot of people that live somewhere at the Russian border, and they never travel more than 100 miles. So it's hard for them to explain, what's happening on the east and what's on the west. But definitely, this shift is happening, and more and more people are not seeing themselves as part of Russia, and they understand that Russia. I mentioned this before. Russia has nothing to offer to these territories. They just say, we will protect you from gay Europe and gay United States, and like this kind of sodomacy. That's the main message they go with. They don't say you're going to have higher payment, you're going to have more jobs, you're going to have innovation, because they don't have it themselves, right? So all they say, they kind of create the story, they create the scary story, and they come and say, we will protect you from this scary monster, this Western imperialists. And that's all they have. They have nothing to prove. And some Central Asian countries, they would align with Russia for their military protection, because they believe Russia has a very strong military power. But now they also see that it's not that strong military. So now Russia has not much to show. There is a constant conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and Armenia has an ally, which is Russia, and Russia just withdrew their troops from there because they don't have enough troops in Ukraine. and Armenia just says, okay, we are ignoring all the kind of this Central Asian meetings about the security because the security just doesn't exist. Azerbaijan stepped in and Russia did nothing because Russia just has no resources for that conflict. And that's what Azerbaijan used. They used this momentum to, you know, solve their internal problems. And so I mean, that's the biggest shift in the mentality of most of the people, that Russia actually has nothing to offer, and it's changing in people's heads.
Interesting. Thank you.
There were a few more questions about the agriculture. I checked that prior to this call because I wasn't on the subject, so I just checked the media, what I can find on the agriculture. So actually, there are two questions. What is the count of deaths of farmers due to encountering mines? So we hear occasionally here and there that some tractor, you know, draw over the mine. I wouldn't say it's a massive situation. So there are cases, but it's not like it's happening every day. So yeah, I don't know. I know there are lots of efforts put to demining. There are lots of international volunteers. I know there is one US guy, which is like famous demining guy from many wars. He just goes directly into these farmers and he just demines. So it looks like it's not that critical for farmers. Maybe we had most of our farms in the central Ukraine, not the eastern. Eastern Ukraine is more like industrial area. There are lots of coal, there are lots of metals. So maybe, you know, those areas are more heavily, you know, suffered from this, but maybe there are just not that many agriculture. And the second question was, what do forecasts for the coming growing season look like? Other projected supply chains for agriculture, chemicals available? So basically, the last year we gathered and we actually worked on 94% of our agriculture fields. So you can see it's not that bad. 94% of our fields were kind of gathered and planted and all this stuff. The biggest problem is with export, because Russia is blocking us on the Black Sea. So there is this kind of agreement that Turkey and UN help reach. And also we are doing some exports through the railway. So we were able to export like 60–65% of what we would want to export. So there is a bigger problem with the export. And as a result, we don't have we need place to store the crops, because if you don't export a lot, all these crops, they stay in this kind of huge barrels, and then the new season is coming, so you need to free space. And I think the export is the biggest challenge, not the growing and the gathering. Yeah.
Okay. Sue, I hope you're okay with that. Michael, your question.
Not a question, but just a comment. I wanted to say that when this comes up on my calendar every month, it serves as a reminder to me that, well, what have I done lately to try to support you all? And one of the things I do is I write my representatives in government, but I wanted to say that I was getting very tired of these automatic responses that I would get when I would write. It felt like it was being written by artificial intelligence a lot of times. And I know they pay people on their staff to create these things and then match them up with the comments that come in. But not long ago, a week or so ago, I got a comment back that was just 3 short sentences. And it basically said, we hear you, we continue to work on this, and we're not stopping to work on this. And the type of message I was sending was just, we need to continue supporting the defense of Ukraine. And so I actually felt like, yes, there are people out there in government who are pursuing this. And I just wanted to share that. It made me smile when it came in to know that there's actual people out there working on this.
That was a really, really good comment.
Yeah. That's very nice.
That is a question. If there's something else that we can do to support you all, our hearts are with you, our money, we're trying to keep our politics. Thank you, Michael. I'd like everyone to write your government representatives and to just keep pounding on the importance of supporting the defense of Ukraine and the victory in Ukraine. We are open to however we can support and help you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you for your support. And I think the most that you can do is, to spread awareness among people you can reach, your friends and politicians. There are, the main Russian narrative to counter your support is to show that Ukraine is losing anyways, they're not getting anywhere. So why would we spend our time and efforts and money? It's still gonna end with the same results. So they wanna kind of put this belief in your heads and show that it's not leading anywhere. So if it's still gonna drop it, maybe we can drop it right now and not spend like 5 years to drop it in 5 years. But I think the events in the next couple of weeks, this big event is gonna start in Ukraine, the big counteroffensive everyone is talking about. And there are a lot of very influential people that used to predict stuff correctly before. They are saying it's going to be something big. So I hope we will, make a major step forward, and it will kind of reassure the support from your side, because people want to see the progress, they want to see the results. They read on news every couple of weeks that US is giving more and more money, more and more arms, but they also want to read the success stories. And everyone wants to be with the victor, right? Everyone wants to be with the side that wins, not with the side that loses. So that's, I hope we will have this. I know many people that are in the army and they are preparing for something big. I hope that there are lots of supplies that was not publicly reported that we are having something to surprise Russians, and yeah, let's just continue believing. I think this year will be we'll know exactly where we are and what we can get. So just need to kind of wait for a few more months, and I'm sure there will be more positive news. And we all want to have. We want to have a justice here, not just stay alive, but there are many good people died, and there are many good people under occupation. And what China proposes, just everyone just stop and just shake hands. It's not what's going to work, because the amount of destruction they cause, they have to pay. Otherwise, these things will repeat. So thank you for your support.
Yurii, is there anything we can do to help you all? Other than try to get you more business and more software development, because you're excellent at it.
Thank you. Yes, just spread the information, and as soon that we will get our victory, you're all welcome in Ukraine. Please come here, spend your money, and learn Ukrainian in the best way that possibly can be with the Ukrainians. Yes, and thank you for your support. Yes, just to add to Ivan's word, just recently the Prime Minister of Hungary, he was saying that Ukraine doesn't exist economically anymore, and it's complete lie, because he's big sympathetic of Putin and Russia, and he got a lot of benefits from them. But just he is the Prime Minister of huge European country, and you can understand in this way how they would like to push their ideas to the minds of the people in the democratic world, and they're having their puppets everywhere, and they're still working on that. They have money for that. so yeah, all the things that we are doing together will help us to get our victory, and I hope soon you will get lot of the positive news, because Ukraine is planning huge counterattack on the in the lot of the territories to get back Ukrainian territories. And this is all possible because of you spreading information, talking about the Ukraine, trying to help Ukraine, and this kind of creates the overall idea that it's possible for Ukraine to win this war, and we will do everything to do that.
Very nice. So thank you everyone for attending. We have recorded this. We'll post it on our website. We'll share it with you. Please share it with others and invite them. Susan has some final words.
But she's muted.
Oh, Susan's muted, so we can't hear you. Okay, Susan's not unmuted. There we go.
Susan was just trying to put the clap your hands sign for another job well done and push the wrong button. But thank you so much.
It's always good to end with humor. So in a really horrible situation. So thank you, Ivan and Yurii, for your time. Everyone on the call learned things, and just that we're here in every way we possibly can to help. So good luck in this next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.